Welcome to Explore the Force, an international Star Wars podcast. I'm Jack, I'm 33, I'm from the UK. I'm currently serving in the British Army and I do all things Star Wars. In my spare time, I like to dress up as my stand trooper, walking around, getting a lot of money for charity in my spare time with the UK Garrison. I'm joined by a lovely member of the team, which is Taylor. Taylor, take it away.
Hello there. My name is Taylor. You can find me at Commander Taylor on all the socials. I am 32, I forget. And I work at the Greater Vancouver Zoo. And I'm the head gardener, and I also do a lot of other weird zoo stuff, which sometimes comes up in our podcast. But mainly, this is a Star Wars podcast.
All right, and I'm Jimmy. I'm from the United States in the heartland of Kansas, as Jack would say. I am not in my 30s. That's all I'm going to say about that.
20s.
I'm in my 20s. Don't look at the gray. Um, I am a history teacher at a high school, and I am a coach. And if I have any spare time, I spend it doing this with these two knuckleheads. And I do a lot of Lego videos. Time lapse videos and things like that on our TikTok channel. So check those out. But today, since I am the history teacher, I'm going to give you guys a little history lesson. Today is the 25th anniversary of the very first Star Wars podcast. In February 7th, 1999, a group called Jedi Talk premiered what we understand is the very first podcast about Star Wars ever, which is crazy. If you think
Wow.
about the technology over the last 25 years, how difficult it must have been to do a podcast in 1999. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
you look at us, we're in 3 different countries. 8 hours separates all of us, and it's not that difficult. And it can be sometimes, but just, really cool. And we want to thank Daniel and at Star Wars Podcast Day on Instagram for inviting us and letting us be a part of this with, 100 other groups. Everyone's passionate about Star Wars. You'll see if you listen to us. We love it. It's brought us all together from all over the galaxy. And I think we're going to go ahead and dive into our main topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So today's topic that we're going to be covering is going to be our favourite scenes from all the Star Wars, and also we're going to be covering our favourite Star Wars movie. So just in short, there, just to start us off, one of my personal favourite scenes from the entire franchise of Star Wars is the very first scene in A New Hope, when that massive ship is coming over the top. As a young child watching that, I was in absolute awe. Looking back now with some of the special effects that they used, just the sounds, the music, everything. For me, the opening crawl of Star Wars: A New Hope really set the standard and the bar really high for me. What about you, Taylor?
One of my favorite scenes. Actually, really good shot, by the way, Jack. That just put a huge smile on my face just thinking about that scene. This is gonna be a good episode. I already like it. Okay, my first favorite episode or favorite scene is the Rogue One Darth Vader hallway scene because it's not just here comes Darth Vader and he's stepping on looking around at the stormtroopers on the ground like this is terrifying. And you can see the fear and you can see the emotion coming from the actors. And you can see like all these desperate men and they're just help us. And it's just so intense. And like you literally, like your hair stands up in the back of your neck, goosebumps. And it's just like, oh man, we love this so much. And just the handoff to Leia and like just that little smirk that she kind of gives us. Cause at this point she's gone. Carrie Fisher, right? So it's almost like a smirk to the audience as well as, the film because we know what's going on when she takes the disc. But that scene has got to be like one of my favorite scenes. Like,
Yeah.
so good.
That's a very good one, Taylor. And
Yeah.
also, just throwing it out there that Darth Vader wished me a happy birthday not too long ago. Just going to
He
put it
did.
out there.
Yeah, a good friend
Thank
of
you,
mine,
Jack.
Spencer Wilder.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, those are really good ones. This was a hard one, right? 3 out of all the stuff, all Star Wars.
Yeah.
My honorable mention. I always sneak one of these in. I cheat a little bit. Anything that has Balin's skull in it. So that's my honorable mention. And my first one would have to be the Battle of Hoth. I know that there's better scenes. I mean, I even think like Rogue One, like that captivates me. But the nostalgia for me of seeing that, and that's probably the scene I played most as a child. Like, I remember my Dixie cups with toothpicks in it to be in the little guns with my little, guys from Hoth soldiers and things like that in there. Always fascinated with the AT-ATs or the AT-ATs, but just and then getting to see all the behind the scenes in those ILM specials, how they did it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just blew my mind as a kid. I know there's better stuff out there as far as CGI and everything like that, but for nostalgia purposes, when I see that scene like that, I just, man, resort back to being a 10, 12-year-old boy, just watching that scene and having my mind blown for the very first time. And I don't think there's anything like it. So for me, I'm going to say the Battle at Hoth is
It's because of how it
one of
makes
my
you
top.
feel.
Yes. It's all about them feels.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
So that
actually my
leads us
daughter's favorite scene too. She loves that scene. She's 4.
that leads us nicely into my next one then. So coming in at number 2 for me, we're talking about feels, is the return of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. Oh
Oh, that is
my
so
days.
good.
For
That
something
was
for like that to happen and to be kept so well under wraps in this day and age is a major testament to all those that were involved. A lot of things sneak out every now and then. No one had any idea. The X-wing came in. People were thinking. Lots of thoughts were going around. Obviously, I sat there watching, thinking, "Who is this?" And as soon as that
Yeah.
green lightsaber ignited, and the robes were flowing, I thought, "Surely not." And then the hood came down. You saw the mechanical hand. Um, yeah, just everything inside of my body was it was a massive, massive adrenaline rush. And to see the moves and the CGI at the end as well, on top of everything, and on top of all of that, we've followed Grogu and the Mandalorian all the way to this point now, and then to watch Grogu have to leave the Mandalorian, so you've just had your heart ripped out again. You know,
Yes.
such an incredible scene. Yep. So for me, it was the return of Luke Skywalker.
when you
That
guys
is
were watching
amazing.
that. I remember for me because that was when it was coming out at like 5 o'clock in the morning here in the States, and I'd get up before school so I wouldn't get anything spoiled. I'm sitting there watching, and then the X-wing comes. I'm like, no way,
Yeah.
and then something else happens, and they did a great job of filming that because it was like on those monitors, but it was in black and white, so you
Black
couldn't
and
tell
white
what
so
color
you
the
couldn't see.
lightsabers and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, they did such a great job with that. But yeah, that is an iconic. That's definitely up there. Good call, Jack. That's a
Yeah, and
very
like
good scene.
Grogu like sees Pedro Pascal's face for the first time, like touches his face, like oh tears.
Good one.
Mm.
Insane. What about you, Taylor? What you got next?
My next favorite scene is actually it's going to be involving Luke as well. And like Jimmy said, there's a lot better scenes than this scene, but this scene means a lot to me. And it's where Luke removes Darth Vader's helmet after he
Ooh.
has thrown Darth Sidious down the chute. And it's like you're looking, he's like, I just want to see my son. And then he's like, you saved me, Luke. And it's not even just like the scene, it's that Luke is like at this time one of the first Jedi to bring somebody back from the grasps of the dark side. Like
Yeah.
he's such a powerful Jedi that he was able to do that. Like think Anakin Skywalker was one of the most crazy strong in the Force Jedi out there and he couldn't even do it. And the fact that Anakin kind of fell into the dark side because of love, kind of. So he did it for Padme because of love and got tangled into it and everything. But Luke
Yeah.
brought Anakin back with love. And it's just like, this just means so much to me. I don't know, um, just that scene where they're looking at each other and like he's seeing his father and I can't leave you. And
Yeah. It's the whole
it's so,
bond.
it's
Oh
the
yeah.
whole bond. It's like, yeah. And it's just, you're seeing how powerful Luke actually is because he pretty
Yeah.
much was like, I'd rather die than turn to the dark side. And I love you, Dad, pretty much. And
Yeah. That's a
it's
yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
And then tell your sister you were right.
Yes,
That one was tough. Yeah, you hear that, and oof, that's a powerful scene.
Very
it
powerful.
is. Right. And you
Um,
don't, and you, like, my daughter even was talking to me like, Luke brought him back to the good side. And it was just like, yes, like even my kid gets it. So sometimes scenes are more about what they mean than at the time how it looks. Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one, Taylor.
Yeah. It just
Um,
means a lot.
I am gonna jump into animation now for a minute, and this is a scene that, and I'll be honest with you, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, I was kind of bummed, right? This
Oh,
anticipation, this build, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And then a few years, and I don't know, a few years later, a few weeks later, listening to podcasts like we do, and the Force Center podcast has a guy named Ace Cabrera come on, and he talks about the scene, and it's going to be Maul versus Obi-Wan in the Twin Sons episode of Rebels. And, I wanted this big dramatic fight scene. I wanted all the stuff, that's just like hardcore. And then Ace broke it down in a way that, and I think Ace actually changed my view on Star Wars a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
helped me kind of start looking for things a little bit more. So, because the show would be really surface level if I still thought that way. But the fact that Maul hadn't changed at all, Kenobi had grown, and the pity Maul had taken everything away from Kenobi, everything, and he wanted to take away his last mission, protect Luke, and he was going to try to ruin that as well. He took away his love, he took away his master. I mean, if anyone had the right to snap and go to the dark side,
it'd be
Obi-Wan
him.
Kenobi
Yeah,
had every right, and I don't think anyone would have faulted him for slicing them all up into little tidbits and feeding them to a crate dragon. But
finish the job this
yeah,
time.
and I just think it also did a good job, and I think this is where my love for Dave Filoni too. Like, um, the light side grows and becomes stronger. The dark side kind of, Maul had that same power in Phantom Menace
yeah,
and didn't change at all, you know, and just blinded by his rage. And I think that the fact that he did the same exact moves where he tried to kill, or where he did kill Qui-Gon, and that he's
Yeah.
unable to, do that. I just think that speaks volumes. One, for Dave Filoni for getting Star Wars as well as he does. I know people sometimes don't think he maybe he gets too much credit, but a scene like that shows you right there that he understands it.
yeah,
And then for me, just that understanding and looking at things a little bit differently. I mean, gone from a scene I was disappointed in the first time I saw it to now I'll just turn that scene on if
yeah.
I have a couple minutes and just kind of
Mm,
watch it. That scene blows me away. I don't know if I'd ever want it recreated live action. I don't think, but I
No,
think it was perfect in animation.
yeah,
Um, and just and I know some people don't. If you don't watch Star Wars animation, you're missing out on some of the greatest stories and some of the best
massively.
storytelling and
Yeah,
some of the connections those shows make. Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch, all those shows just build up the canon, and I think you're really missing out if you don't.
yeah, big time.
Yeah, so that's my
It's
that's my second one.
it's the more to enter two great warriors as well, either side of the force.
Yeah, so
Um, yeah, just get tied up nicely. That leads me into nicely again my favourite scene for everything Star Wars. One of my favourite movies, The Phantom Menace, is that scene. The music, the doors opening, and Darth Maul's there. For me, as a kid, watching that, and then it's the first time we see, apart from the trailer, we see a double-bladed lightsaber. I was instantly hooked. And I just remember as a kid thinking, I want to be that guy. The whole music thing, the door opening, and even Padme at the time, like, yeah, we'll go round. Um, yeah, and then just the fight scene that carries on from that. But yeah, my favourite scene, the door opening, the music kicking off, and just Maul's face, and then just the slow ignition of one blade and then the other side, and it's just
yeah.
wow,
I
absolutely incredible.
still can't believe they gave that all away in the previews.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a
that
lot. There was
blows
a lot to
my
give away.
mind. Yeah,
But you can see why, because it's such a big scene. I mean,
yeah,
that that scene there is what pretty much set the whole Skywalker saga off. It could have gone so many different ways,
you're right.
you know.
Yeah, there's some people, I don't know who it was talking about it, but like it's really the battle for Anakin. You know,
Yeah,
the whole
Yeah.
thing and how it would have changed Star Wars, and
yeah, I've
yeah,
said it
that's an
before.
excellent. Yeah.
So many paths. Qui-Gon could have survived. Obi-Wan could have died. Maul could have succeeded, and they both died. Maul could have absolutely collapsed, and both Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan survived. There's so many paths they could have taken, but with what they
Hmm.
did and how they did it, and even more surviving as well. Fantastic, absolutely. My favourite scene by a good country mile, I think, um, for Star Wars. What about you, Taylor? What have you got for number one?
Well, I should have known this, but I was actually going to say the Darth Maul fight. I should have known that you were going to choose it because I already know that's your favorite scene of like everything, and Darth Maul's like your favorite. But yeah, just that scene where the second lightsaber just ignites, and just the whole thing with Kenobi being there, and I just love it because I love Qui-Gon and just
Yeah,
what he is, what he brings to the table. He's such a different Jedi, but I mean, as we've had this discussion before, I don't know, is he a traditional Jedi or not? But because you've already said that one, I'm going to say a different one. Um, just a scene that honorable mention is one of just my favorite scenes, just because it puts a huge smile on my face. Is in Solo, where they are sitting around the fire and Chewbacca says something like, "Oh, my family or my tribe," and one of them says, "It doesn't matter. Like it's the same thing," and it's just like,
yeah,
I don't know, just the fact that Han and Chewie get along so well and they can already talk to each other, and just the banter, and just like, I don't know, all the people around that fire that they're sitting with are like dead in 3 days.
yeah. Yeah.
But that's a really good scene just because it makes me smile. Just that little bit of connection, that little bit of like music in the background. Good
Yeah.
scene.
Yes. That leads me beautifully into my favorite
Did I
scene
Okay,
of
just take
Star
first.
yours?
Wars. You did not take mine. You took. So I want you guys to imagine this, right? The first time you see
Okay.
Star Wars, you see A New Hope, the scoundrel and his furry companion, and that builds into the into Empire and into Return of the Jedi. But you ever think about like everything that comes before that? So my favorite scene, the one that gives me the goosebumps, and one of the reasons I love this movie so much, Han's flying the Millennium Falcon, Kira's in the shotgun seat, flying co-pilot,
Yeah.
and then Chewie's like yapping at her to like do this, do that, and she gets out of the way and Chewie sets down. The music kicks off,
And he's just like,
and I'm like, oh, this is when it started. Like this is when all the adventures, like that's the official start for me of Han
Yeah,
and Chewie. The first time they're behind the Falcon together, um, and it's one of the reasons that I love that movie so much. But just you think about everything, and then at the end of that movie, he's like, oh, you know, looking for a crew, and he starts talking about Jabba the Hutt and how you just kind of think what adventures are they going to have together before we see them again, and
yeah.
so that's one of my favorite scenes. I know that movie's not necessarily loved by the popular, but I just think that's a great scene. Even if you don't like Solo, the first time that Han and Chewie sit down behind the Falcon together has to be special.
It
yeah,
They did a great job.
is.
If you go back and watch it and just listen to when the music kicks off when they sit down together, I love it. So,
You know what? That actually brings up one thing that I just thought of the other day. So you're watching Solo, and the ship is like white. All the seats are beautiful and white. And Lando has kept the Millennium Falcon like beautiful, almost
hmm
completely different. Like the walls are white and the floors are totally clean. And then we see in New Hope, and it's just trashed. And it's just like, God, Han Solo is just a filth bag. But it's like, hey, have you seen my dog get in my car after one day outside? It's Chewbacca who's the
oh
disgusting
no, you're
pig. I'm
blaming
sure.
Chewie.
Imagine how much hair is just everywhere. It's just dirty. He's
ugh,
barefoot. You know what I mean? The ship is filthy because of Chewbacca. Let's just be
Hope,
honest.
hopefully, he's a hyperallergenic Wookiee.
He would
So,
be white and curly then, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness.
no. Just a couple of other honourable mentions as well for the scenes as well. Something I just missed out for me was the scene where Ray and Kylo team up as well. after killing Snoke.
Oh,
Um,
that's the throne
that's
room
such a
scene.
good scene. Such a good
Oh.
scene. Seeing them team up, and then obviously the outcome of that, bringing it from such a high to, for me, an extreme low of, oh, I was expecting a lot more. I think not from the film so much, just a lot more. A bit more backstory behind the whole parents thing.
Mm.
And obviously, I wanted to see Kylo really go for it as well in terms of taking over the First Order. Um, but yeah, just a quick honourable mention for me. You got any honourable mentions, Taylor? I know Jimmy's already spoken about his love for Balon.
Um. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm just like
Yeah,
thinking of like different, even just like short scenes that we just saw in Ahsoka, like where Hu Yang just starts punching the other droid. It's hilarious.
yeah, yeah,
Just you don't expect the what is he like a 300-year-old or 500-year-old droid or something like that, and he just boxer.
yeah. Yeah,
I don't
there's so
know,
many scenes
so
to pick and
many.
choose from, and I'm sure my three won't be the same next year, and they'll always change
Oh, it's
with
always
every
changing.
rewatch. Now, just going on to movies, just real quick before we wrap up. Again, I'll just start us off quickly. We sort of already touched over it, but for me, one of my favourite films, or if not my favourite film of the whole Star Wars franchise, is Rogue One. For me, Rogue One really did showcase what Star Wars can be without lightsabers and the Force. And then the cherry on top of the cake was, like Taylor said, the scene where Vader just comes through and slaughters everybody. Um, it just epitomises everything, and it's beautifully leads up to A New Hope, and it just shows there's more people out there in the Star Wars universe that can affect the universe rather than just Jedi's and Siths.
Mm-hmm.
You've got these brilliant spies, pilots, more droids that we see in K2SO, um, just more nitty gritty stuff of the dark world of Star Wars. So for me, my favourite film is Rogue One.
Man, that space battle, that's everything I
Insane.
wanted to see in a Star Wars film. Like, that has got to be the best space battle
Yeah,
in
That's so
Star Wars,
good.
I think. Just,
it's
oh my
definitely up there.
goodness. Yes, it's so
That's up
good.
there with
Mm.
Revenge of the Sith's opening scene, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Mm.
Yeah. What about you, Taylor? What's your favourite Star Wars film?
For me, it's actually really tough between A Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith, but I am going to go with Revenge of the Sith. Just
Nice.
because it's just the pressure building throughout the whole like little trilogy of that group
Yeah.
of Star Wars films, and Ewan McGregor is just looking fine in that the whole time. Um, it starts off like you said with like an amazing space battle. Like this is where the fun begins. Like yeah, like so good. Just the emotion, the ups, the downs, and Anakin's like relationship with Obi-Wan
Yeah.
and Padme and just everything. So it's gonna be Revenge of the Sith, even though I like cry at the end of it every time. But
Nice. Jimmy?
Well, I think my last favorite scene may have given it away. Please don't unfollow us when I say this, people, but I'm going to have to go with Solo, and I don't know what it is about this movie. Um, there's just so the more you watch this movie, the more you pick up on things. Like, I don't know if you guys, the coaxium, it goes up in price every time. Like, it
yeah,
starts
it
out at
does.
800, 1,000, and just little things like that. I know people give it a hard time for not being like a well written movie, but it actually is a really well written movie.
Yeah.
It is. I love the
And I get
twist
it.
at the end. Like
Yeah. And just, yeah, like the helmet removal, like when the first time Memphis Nest takes her helmet off, and I mean, the whole time they're talking about he, and
yeah, I
you're
was
kind of blown away.
expecting a
It's like this
dude.
18-year-old girl who I got to meet her at Celebration Chicago, and she
Oh,
was
awesome.
super sweet to some of the younger kids in front of me. It was fun to watch her interact with them. But the relationship, and I know they kind of forced some stuff with Han Solo, but seeing Chewie come alive, I know that this was like Jonas's big break. He kind of shared duty in, I think, The Force Awakens with Peter Mayhew and stuff like that. But to see Chewie do all those things that Han said he could do in the original trilogy, ripping
Yeah.
someone's arms off. Just little
Yeah.
things like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those goobers that likes fan service or whatever. But I really loved it. He talks about we just did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, and Chewie yells, and he goes, "It is if you round down." Just little things like that. Little
Yeah.
quips. People are like, well, he doesn't really seem like Solo. He does seem like Solo. He does a pretty good job.
He just hasn't had his heart crushed yet by
And
something.
it's like the most rewatchable movie for me outside of like the originals. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
It's
I
so
sometimes like,
fun.
yeah, it's just a great
Like
fun
I'm
the
gonna
movie.
rewatch
train
it this
heist.
week.
Yeah, the
And what?
train heist. It's like
Yeah,
it's so Star Warsy. Like
my
there's good
only
humor in it.
Rio. Like my only knock is I wish we would have
Yeah.
gotten like another 15 minutes with the crew before. Like they would have done like some small jobs and something like
Yeah.
that because you
Yeah.
know that's the only area. But I know it ran a little long. But that's the only area that I think that they really missed out on some things, and for all the drama and stuff that surrounded that, and you know, I thought it turned out really, really well. And I wish that Make Solo 2 happen would happen, or let's
Yeah.
see a TV show of some adventures. Let's see that the potential of that movie and like a sequel of getting closer to A New Hope would have been very cool. I think even if
Yeah.
they never
Mhm.
got that far, give us the next 2 years with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to know
Take
what's
out.
going on with Crimson Dawn now. I mean, I
Yeah, I
know
want
there's
to
the
see Kira.
comics,
I
but
mean,
like,
Darth Maul
yeah.
shows back up. I mean, there's just so much that it's in that movie that I just feel like I know I don't understand the business side of things, but I
Mm.
understand like my love for Star Wars and like if I could pick, that'd be the next project would be Solo 2, and I don't, seedy underworld stuff maybe mixed
Yeah.
into it. Could be a
Yeah.
phenomenal movie if they took the time to like really dig into it and go into the underworld stuff sides of it and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, so that's
agreed.
definitely my favorite movie. Um, and again, like we said, like I love them all for different things, different reasons. But I would say that if I could have to watch one movie, it's going to be Solo. So
Nice.
Mm.
Happy days. So hopefully you guys and girls have enjoyed what you've been listening to so far. Usually the shows do go on a little bit longer, but this is just like a little taster of what we normally do talk about. We've had guests on the show as well. Quite often we'll have people that listen to the podcast as well, fans. Quite recently we had a good few friends of ours come on the show, express their love from books to comics to collections. Also, we've had Ross Sandbridge come on the show, an actor. There's a special one that's just come out as well, or will be coming out with Michelle C. Smith, who did a fan-made film as Venturous. So we're pushing for her to get hired by Disney.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we've got a few more surprises, let's say, lined up for this year. So please, if you do get a chance, please like, share, follow on our social media platforms. Is Explore the Force. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and pretty much everything else that I've probably missed out there. But please, by all means, reach out to us. Let us know what Star Wars films you like the most, your scenes. And feel free to join the Facebook group. It's ever growing. We've got a massive chat group that's quite active as well. And people are
Mhm.
always posting stuff on the Facebook page. So don't be shy. Join the Facebook page, Explore the Force. Thanks very much to Daniel for organising all this. And as always, then, from Taylor
For light and life.
and from myself, may the Force be with you.
and for all of us, we have spoken.
Thanks for listening.
Star Wars
Thanks.
Podcast Day, everyone.
Yeah. Happy Star Wars Podcast Day.